The hospital's fluorescent lights seemed to hum with a deafening silence as Marcus sat across from the transplant coordinator, his weathered hands trembling slightly on the cold metal table. 28 years old, with a 7-year-old son at home and barely enough money to pay rent, he was about to give away one of his kidneys to a complete stranger. He didn't know her name. He didn't know her story. All he knew was that somewhere in this massive hospital a woman was dying, and he could save her. That realization alone had made his decision feel less like a choice and more like an inevitability written in his bones. Marcus had grown up in poverty, watching his mother sacrifice everything for him and his siblings. She worked 3 jobs, slept 4 hours a night, and never complained once. When she died at 52 from a kidney disease that went undetected for too long, something fundamental shifted inside him. He made a silent promise to her memory that he would never look away from someone else's suffering. He would be the person she never got to be, the one who helped when it mattered most. If you believe in the power of kindness and second chances, please like this video, leave a comment sharing your thoughts, and subscribe to our channel. Let's build a community that celebrates the beauty of human compassion together. The morning of the surgery, Marcus kissed his son Tommy goodbye, trying to keep his voice steady as he promised everything would be fine. His sister Maria drove him to the hospital, her knuckles white as she gripped the steering wheel. She didn't agree with his decision. She thought it was reckless, that he had Tommy to think about, that he couldn't afford to take time off work while he recovered. But she also knew that nothing she said would change his mind. That stubbornness ran in their family, inherited from a mother who refused to let the world tell her what she couldn't do. What Marcus didn't know as he lay in that pre-op room was that the woman receiving his kidney was Victoria Chen, the 43-year-old CEO of one of the most successful pharmaceutical companies in North America. She sat in her office tower, commanding rooms with her intelligence and vision. But alone in the quiet nights, she felt the weight of her isolation like a physical thing. Her rise to power had come at a cost she hadn't fully understood until it was too late. Every relationship she'd tried to maintain had crumbled under the pressure of her ambition. Every person she'd let close enough to matter had eventually resented the hours she worked, the emails she answered at midnight, the way the company always seemed to come first. Now, at 43, with billions in her account and nothing but empty hotel rooms and business dinners, she faced something money couldn't buy: more time. When the transplant was successful, Victoria's recovery felt like being given a second life. But it was a life she didn't know how to live. Her doctors recommended she take time away from work, something she fought tooth and nail until they made it a condition of her continued health. She spent weeks in her penthouse apartment, staring at the city below, wondering who had given her this gift. The hospital had maintained the anonymity that both she and Marcus had requested, a protection for each of them that neither fully appreciated. Marcus, on the other hand, returned to work at the construction site exactly 3 weeks after surgery, despite his doctor's warnings that he needed 6. His body ached in ways he couldn't describe, a deep exhaustion that settled into his bones, but Tommy needed new shoes and the electric bill was due. His boss didn't pay for recovery time. The world didn't stop for healing, especially not for people like Marcus, people who lived paycheck to paycheck with no safety net beneath them. He would arrive home each evening, his scar still red and tender, and find Tommy waiting by the window with his homework incomplete, asking when Daddy was coming home. Those moments broke his heart every single time. 2 months after the surgery, Victoria made a decision that surprised even her. She contacted the hospital's donor coordinator and asked if there was any way to thank the person who had changed her life. The rules were strict, complete confidentiality, but she had an idea. She would establish an anonymous fund. Through the hospital's transplant program, she would help other donors with their recovery costs, their lost wages, their medical expenses. If she couldn't thank him directly, she could honor his sacrifice by protecting others like him from the financial devastation that accompanied such generosity. The letter came to Marcus, care of the hospital, a simple envelope that seemed to contain a life raft. It explained that an anonymous recipient of a kidney had established a fund specifically designed to help donors like him. All his lost wages could be covered. His recovery time could be fully supported. He would never have to choose between healing and providing for his son. When Marcus read those words, he wept. He wept for his mother, who had died without anyone to ease her burden. He wept for people like him, people whose goodness came at such a high cost. But mostly, he wept because for the first time in his life, the universe had bent slightly in his favor. What neither Marcus nor Victoria realized was that their stories were about to intertwine in ways neither could have predicted. Victoria's recovery continued, but her forced sabbatical from work led her to volunteer at a local youth center, something she'd never had time for before. She taught business classes to underprivileged teenagers, pouring her expertise into kids who seemed to have no pathway forward. One afternoon, a quiet, serious boy with his mother's eyes sat in her classroom. His name was Tommy. He was writing a story about his father for an assignment, about a man who gave away part of himself to save a stranger. The assignment was to analyze acts of selflessness and why people chose to do them. As Tommy read his essay aloud, Victoria felt something crack open inside her chest. Here was this remarkable child, struggling with the fact that his father had risked everything for someone he didn't know. Tommy didn't understand his father's choice. He was angry about it, actually, hurt that his father valued a stranger's life over his own safety, over their security. Victoria listened to this boy pour out his confusion and pain, and she realized that Marcus's kidney hadn't just saved her life, it had given her a purpose she never knew she was missing. She started working with Tommy separately, not telling him who she was or why she cared so much. She helped him understand his father through a different lens, showing him that true strength wasn't in choosing yourself or the people you loved. It was in expanding your circle of love so wide that strangers became family. She took Tommy to volunteer with her, and together they served meals at a community center. She helped him see his father not as someone who abandoned him, but as someone who showed him what it meant to be human in the truest sense. When Victoria eventually met Marcus at the youth center, a chance encounter, orchestrated by fate or coincidence or the universe's sense of poetry, they didn't recognize each other at first. They were just two people who had both been changed by an act of faith in human goodness. As they talked, as they pieced together the impossible connection between them, tears fell freely from both of them. Marcus learned that the anonymous fund had been her. Victoria learned that the man whose kidney now functioned in her body was the same man whose child she had grown to love. The gratitude, the irony, the staggering beauty of it all threatened to overwhelm them both. In that moment, standing in a youth center where children laughed and played, Marcus realized something profound. He had given up one kidney to save a stranger, but what he received in return was far greater than anything he'd sacrificed. He gained proof that goodness doesn't disappear into the void. He gained a friend. He gained the knowledge that his son would grow up surrounded by people who believed in him. And most importantly, he gained confirmation that his mother's faith in human kindness hadn't been naive or foolish. It had been prophetic. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of the power of ordinary people doing extraordinary things, please engage with this video right now. Like it, share it with someone you love, and let us know in the comments how this story made you feel. We want to hear your thoughts. As the sun set over the city that evening, Marcus and Victoria sat with Tommy between them. No longer strangers, but something far more meaningful. Proof that kindness always returns. Sometimes in ways we never could have imagined. Sometimes from sources we never expected. Always exactly when we need it most. The kidney that Marcus gave was just an organ, replaceable and biological. But the gift he truly gave was something far more precious. The gift of faith that humanity is still worth believing in, that sacrifice still matters, that love, whether given to a stranger or to the people we cherish most, changes everything forever. If you've been moved by Marcus and Victoria's story, leave a comment telling us what you think. Would you have made the same choice as Marcus? Have you experienced an unexpected turn of fate in your own life? Share your stories with us.